All right, guys, today we're going to be making a diamond painting pen, my first one, and I'm going to be making it out of a blank that I made on the live stream using diamond painting diamonds, the little drills that you use to make the pictures. So it should be pretty fun. I'm excited to see how it goes. Well, all right, guys, we're over at the lathe and we're ready to start working on this, but I wanted to just stop and point out a couple things before we begin. Now, this diamond painting pen is not going to be like your typical ink pen that you're used to turning. We're not going to be, drilling this out and putting tubes and all that stuff in and using bushings. We need to mount this on the lathe as is and turn it between centers. So the other thing we have to do is we're going to be, at the end, gluing in some little tips, the little diamond painting tips. And actually, I got this on Amazon. I'll have a link in the show notes where I got this. It was a couple bucks. It came with 3 different tools, and you basically get 2 heads per tool. And really, all we're worried about is the tips. We want that out of this kit. So, like I said, link down in the show notes for that on where I got it on Amazon. So the first thing we need to do is drill a hole that will be the right size for those tips. And I found a 7/32 hole is going to give you a pretty snug fit with these little tips. So we're going to drill holes on each side first, but the work holding, I've tried to come up with a really good method of holding this thing, and I've just come back to using a dead center and a live center. So the dead center is going to go in your headstock, live center is going to go in the tailstock, but both of these have a 60-degree cone on the end. And for this to work well, you don't really want to just drill a hole and then put the blank up to a 60-degree cone. It's going to be contacting in like one little area around that rim, and it's not going to be very good work holding. It can slip very easily, and you don't want that turning. You want the thing to be spinning while you're cutting it. So the best thing to do is you want to get a 60-degree chamfer in the ends of the blank as well. And the best thing that I know how to do that is use a center drill, which also comes in handy to give you a center point when you're drilling that hole anyway. It's a stiffer drill bit that'll give you that starting point, but it has a 60-degree chamfer on it. So I'm going to do that first. We're going to drill those holes, and then we're just going to mount everything up and start turning it. So let's get started. All right, guys, I just wanted to stop real quick and thank my 2 newest top-level patrons over on Patreon, Travis and Dave. Thank you guys so much for your support at the top level. I really appreciate it. If anybody else wants to help support the show, you can do so over on Patreon at patreon.com/nvwoodworks. There's a link on the screen and down in the show notes as well. Now let's get back to the project. All right, guys, I just wanted to stop and point out that we did get a couple little chip outs. Some of these little diamond chips did kind of come out. Not bad at all, but, for something like this, when you put materials in your resin like this, sometimes they can kind of chip out when you're turning them, especially when you get them turned down to a pretty fine, little sliver of it. So I'm just going to kind of fill any little pits that we have with CA glue, and then we'll continue on and we'll finish her up. All right, guys, we got it all turned up and it's looking pretty good. Now, this is definitely not the best turning that I've ever made and probably not my best CA finish in the world, but everything turned out pretty good. Now, a couple of notes, which you probably saw. I tried kind of coming in to cut off. I wanted to get rid of those 60-degree cones so that these would fit in a little tightly. The problem is it's between centers and there's really no way to like turn it off. And I was a little bit worried when I started thinning that down, it kind of started slipping. So I just kind of left it there and went for sanding those little nibs off. But everything fits well. These fit into the holes pretty tightly. Now you could, use hot glue or do something to kind of secure them. But I mean, they're really not coming out, I don't think, not very easily with that 7/32 hole. So overall, pretty cool. Now the blank turned pretty well. I got a couple of chips like you saw, nothing too crazy. And if you have that blank held in place and it's not slipping or vibrating, you should do fine, even if you cast these little diamond drills, the little diamond chips. So I got a couple of blanks left over, and I'll put these guys up in my store under the short runs in pens under that section. So one of them is kind of packed tightly. It's very similar to this blank that I turned. And then I did another one that's a little bit more sparse. And so on this one, you'll probably have, less chipping out. But I got two of those up for grabs. Hopefully somebody out there would like to try this out. It's a pretty fun project. Like I said, work holding, I think, is the hardest part of this. But it's a really fun, piece to turn. You can kind of get crazy with it, do whatever kind of shapes you want. And in the end, you got yourself a nice diamond painting pen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If this is your first time on my channel, we do all kinds of resin casting projects, tips and tricks, and experiments around here. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get notified when new videos get posted. And if you're thinking about getting into resin casting, but you're not really sure where to begin, check out my ebook, The Beginner's Guide to Resin Casting. It answers all those beginner questions like, what kind of resin should I use? What tools and supplies do I need to get started? It'll help you get over that initial learning curve so you can get in the shop and start making some blanks of your own. So it's available on my website. If you're interested in that, there'll be a link on the screen and down in the show notes to it. So until next time, guys, happy casting.